What was that juicy hometown high school rumor that turned out to be true? NSFW. Everyone was always talking about how the pre-calculus teacher and the algebra teacher were screwing around. They were both married, but students would see them smiling at each other, even kissing in the halls. Turns out they were married to each other. She just kept her maiden name. I didn't find out till a few years later when I saw him on Facebook. I'm pretty sure they knew about the rumors and specifically said nothing to dispel them for shits and giggles. That a 7th grader was bringing vodka in a water bottle and would drink it throughout the day. Yeah, it turns out she brought 5 and got alcohol poisoning and had to be rushed to the hospital. The head high school principal was screwing a cheerleader and her mom while his wife was pregnant. He was asked to resign. He left and became the superintendent of another county. That the vice principal was cheating on his terminally ill wife with a cheerleading coach. It was true and everyone knew. He got promoted to principal, moved his office to the conference room in the library. Conveniently and simultaneously, the cheerleading coach became the librarian. Bath. I bet when he learned his ex-wife was sick he immediately went to the airport. Because it was terminal. I bet when he started cheating, he never flew first class. Because he always wanted to be in coach. I bet he never told his wife about the coach, even after he got promoted. Based on principle, I bet when the coach became a librarian she took him to the non-friction section. That the biology teacher hated the principal so much that he repeatedly set the class tarantula loose to sway her away from visiting his part of the school. When I was 13 years old, a girl and a boy from my class stopped going to school for some days. As silly kids as we were, we started joking that they were getting together to make babies and ended up missing the classes. The boy was just sick. The girl was actually pregnant. That the theater kids would use the woman's bathroom in the theater to have sex. Turned out it was true when a teacher walked in on a couple going at it on the sink. They ended up locking the theater bathrooms during the day and only opened them for performances. It sucked because those bathrooms were nicer and quieter than the other ones. There was a rumor that our AP economics teacher was having an affair with our married AP US history teacher. Rumor only grew steam when she filed for divorce just before graduation. 2 years after I graduated, my friend who worked at a daycare texted me a picture of the two of them dropping off her 2 kids. There were rumors that a mystery kid was pooping in the janitor's closets. Everyone thought it was a stupid rumor until the principal made an announcement about it. They never caught the kid. But a few years later I found out who it was. It turned out to be a friend of mine. I wasn't shocked. This kid was strange. You could dare him to do anything and he would do it. He once ate part of a dissected frog on a dare. Another time he almost chugged bleach but the teacher stopped him. TLDR. I was unknowingly friends with the mad pooper. One of the popular jarhead class clown types was accused of sexual assault on the bustiest girl at the school for biting her left tit. 18-year-old guy gets caught fingerblasting a 14-year-old in the upstairs hallway. For a whole 2 months or so no one was allowed upstairs during lunch. This happened last year. And this year all of the lockers and classes are moved downstairs. Us suck being homeschooled. That the girl in my class had a sister a year older who had been locked in a closet since she was 5 years old. Turned out to be true and mom and dad went to prison. The girl was mentally handicapped and they just decided to lock her in the closet and only let her out to clean out the closet. She ate in there and defecated in a bucket. The super smart girl who got into all the top schools was so depressed at an Ivy League because she was no longer the smartest person and had to drop out after 1 semester. It was a big deal because she scored an almost perfect SAT score and was the first in our high school to go there. A guy in my year in secondary school, high school time, had sex in a McDonald's bathroom and stuck it up the wrong hole, causing the girl to bleed everywhere. Wasn't really much of a rumor since he confirmed it about 2 days after it went around the year. The head pom, who would go down on literally any football player. Had a pregnancy scare. Failed 12th grade English and moved to a different county to not face the small town shame of being the only member of the senior class to not graduate. When my boyfriend was in high school, there was a sub there who was subbing while finishing college whose mom had been a teacher at the school for years. This girl eventually ends up fricking half the football team and has pictures of her tits going around. They let her resign instead of pressing charges. I'm assuming because of her mom being there for so long and because some of the students were of age. So a couple of weeks ago we hired a new attorney at the law firm I work for. I tease her. This has probably happened in a bunch of places. There was a gym teacher who was really invested in his students when we were in middle school. Middle school was kinda the phase where we never really knew who was out to get us. But most of us thought the gym teacher was. He was smiling an astonishing amount of the time. Even when we were in the locker room getting undressed and dressed. Many of us found it unnerving and a bit creepy. And there were many rumors going around that he was gay and into younger boys. Well, it turns out that in my final year of middle school, he got sacked. Even after years of teaching. And everyone knew why he was sacked. We were wrong. Though. Since there was a twist. He had been touching a female classmate inappropriately. Many of us thought he was going to be sacked for something like that. At least a little. But I don't think a single one of us thought it would be for touching a girl. He sure proved us wrong. When I moved away from my old school in 6th grade, someone spread a rumor that I was a lesbian because I was obsessed with Lady Gaga. 6 years later, moved past the Lady Gaga phase. But definitely a flaming homo. That a freshman girl popped her cherry with the wide part of a shampoo bottle. She took pictures and sent said pictures to a group of guys in the sophomore class, telling them to keep it private. Everyone saw and she wound up transferring. People thought our vice principal was banging one of the security officers. Eventually we found out he left his wife and they started dating. So that was true. Another was that people suspected that our resource officer was a pothead. For anyone that doesn't know, our resource officer is an actual police officer with the city and not a regular security guard. Well, my buddy is a recovering drug addict. He apparently was selling weed to the officer back in high school. Not many people knew about that one though. Back when I was in school, a girl used to frick older men, 30-year-olds and older, for cigarettes and weed. She was 14 or 15 years old at the time. Not many people knew about it. But it turned out to be true. Nobody really cared as she was already known as a SLT around the school. Conzilla. We were all at band camp and it was rumored that one of the girls in my class, 17 or so at the time, was pregnant. I laughed at the idea when I heard it. Sure. She had a big, baggy shirt on each day. But despite all the jokes, band camp is generally tough on the body. 10 plus hours of marching each day, plus hours of music practice. She'd have to be far along. Far enough along that she'd know that submitting herself to that kind of exertion in the heat for a week was a bad idea. She left camp early and both she and her baby nearly died from what she put herself through. He was premature and had all sorts of problems. But thankfully, it turned out okay. The school and teachers tried to cover the pregnancy up because her mom was rather influential. But when she came back to school telling her story and showing off pictures, our extremely flamboyant, perfect hair, nice dress Shess high school counselor was in the closet. He never came out but he was rumored to have been having relations with one of the HS guys. As soon as the kid turned 18, he moved in with the counselor and they were seen in public together a few times being lovey-dovey. I had always heard this rumor that the new principal at my elementary school was fired because he was caught banging the 3rd grade teacher. To be fair, she was smoking hot. Which was super awkward because she became our language arts teacher in 6-8, so she went from having these sweet little kids to a bunch of preteens staring at her massive tits. Anyways, I just found out like 2 days ago it was true. That was why her husband, I'm a straight man. But this guy is literally one of those guys from a truck commercial and genuinely awesome. Divorced her and is now married to a former Brazilian cop who is just as hot. The two school secretaries were a lesbian couple. It was just a joke. Though when I was waiting to get back into the school from eating lunch out, all school security systems went next level because of Sandy Hook. One of the secretaries stood up and kissed the other on the cheek and walked out the office. Doesn't confirm anything but some good evidence. Middle school math teacher fricked the high school baseball coach so that he would put her son on varsity team instead of the freshman baseball team. Everyone found out her and her husband almost got a divorce when he found out. Apparently they worked through it and are still together. Edit. Accidentally a word. My high school once cancelled lunch one day because we damn near had a riot after 8 fights broke out. I was on a field trip with 100 other students. My high school had a total of 300, and we were all getting texts from our friends on the bus.